what drew you to learn about trans voice? Yeah.
So I noticed, I came in contact with a lot of singers who noticed changes in their voice because of hormones. And that kind of got me thinking, like, who has to do with this, firstly, and how do I deal with that as a vocal coach? My mind was blown. It was like, it all makes sense now.
Yay!
And it's
That's
such
so
a
good.
tiny thing, but it's something that went on in my mind for a long time.
But as a Black person navigating spaces, like, or what could be different in how we talk about voice and identity?
There are more Black people there. There are definitely more queer people there. Definitely neurodivergent people there. People from all kinds of walks of life. Then if you go to the institution where they're going to teach you about music, very white. If that would mix more, I think the world would be a better place.
I agree. Hi, I'm Renee, and I'm a gender-affirming voice teacher. Today, I'm talking with Shaynah, a soulful neo R&B artist, producer, and voice teacher based in Rotterdam. Shaynah creates music that sparks mental, spiritual, and physical freedom, encouraging people to become comfortable with their own vulnerability.
Look, you can be vulnerable, SM.
But here's something you might not know. Shaynah was a student in last year's cohort of my teacher training course, Learn to Teach Trans Voice Alteration in 5 weeks. And let me tell you, having them in the course was incredible. As an autistic Black musician working in both Dutch and English contexts, Shaynah brought perspectives that opened up conversations we needed to have about accessibility, language, and how we teach voice work.
Okay, it's nuanced.
In this interview, we talk about what it's like to learn trans voice pedagogy as a singing teacher, how neurodivergence shapes the way we learn and teach, navigating voice and gender across languages, and what Shaynah's taking from the course into their own teaching practice. If you've ever wondered whether a course like this is for you, especially if you're neurodivergent, working in multiple languages, or coming from a music background, this is the conversation for you. Oh, and did I mention applications for the 2026 cohort of Learn to Teach Trans Voice Alteration open in 1 month. So this is perfect timing. Check it out. Hi, Shaynah. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you today?
I am okay.
You're doing good. We were
I'm
just
okay,
saying before we
yeah.
started the recording that you're having an existential crisis. So I thought maybe you
A
could
tiny
introduce
one.
yourself
Yep.
and tell us about that.
About my existential crisis, my name is Shaynah. What do? I do a lot of things. I make music mostly. In the broadest sense of the word, I'm a composer and producer for theater plays here in Europe. I compose for other artists and I produce for mostly R&B neo-soul artists. And I produce my own music. So there's that. And I'm currently having an existential crisis because I was addressed as, I was assumed non-binary today. And the person that assumed my identity was surprised that I didn't know yet.
Classic trans experience.
I don't really, I feel a type of way, but I don't, but it has more to do with how I'm perceived than how I feel on the inside. I've been using she, they pronouns for a long time now, and I'm comfortable being addressed in any way as long as people don't assume that I'm female because I look like one or I might look like one. So yeah, I have some thinking to do and see what new labels and new umbrellas I want to claim. But for now, I'm just me, and you can address me by they, them pronouns in this call.
Awesome. Thank you, Shaynah. Yeah, you were saying that you're just a person, you just feel like a person.
Yeah.
And I feel that way too. I think that's a very common non-binary experience actually, but I'm not going to put that label on you until you're ready.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I talked to my partner about this, and they are non-binary, and I see a lot of me in them. And same thing goes for the studies with the trans voice. I'm reading a lot about trans history and trans experiences as a whole, and it's like I'm reading about myself. So if I purely look at the definitions, yes, I'm trans and non-binary, but it just feels...
Yeah, I feel you. Okay, we have so many questions to get through.
Yes.
I'm so excited to talk to you because we haven't talked to a lot of trans musicians on the channel. I just had Eli Conley on, who's like a trans man who's a singer-songwriter, but I'm just so
nice.
excited to have more trans musicians on the channel, especially you, since you took my teacher training course.
Yes.
So can we start by talking about your music?
Yes. What do you want to know?
So you described your music on your website as
Mhm.
creating a space of community and collective healing. And so I'd love to know, how does that philosophy show up in your teaching work? Because of course, in addition to being like a performing artist, you also teach people
Yeah.
to sing. So how does that philosophy of like community and collective healing show up in your teaching work, whether you're teaching singing or trans voice?
Mhm. I'm gonna start with that I create my own music to kind of make sense of the world around me and to make sense of myself. I am heavily autistic, very neurodivergent, and feelings are a vague mystery to me.
Okay.
And I write music to have conversations with myself to know what I actually feel and how I actually think about something and how I want to move forward from that or how to process certain experiences. I then share that music to create a sense of community, I guess, because I'm seldomly alone in what I'm feeling and how I see that and how I try to make sense of those feelings. I notice that when I start talking about it more, it helps me process. So I think that is a part of community that I want to put out there, I guess. And in my teaching, I think, and that is exactly like how my brain works, I think that if I completely understand how something works, it makes it easier for me to accept and use that thing. So when it comes to my voice, if I know what techniques work best for me, if I know how something works physiologically, it makes it easier for me to fully use my instrument. And therefore, I love helping people know or teaching them how to work with their voice to also kind of just understand them and to have them understand themselves, what they actually want to say, how they feel about stuff, and how to put that into their music. So I think that is where the sense of community and the collective healing comes in when I teach.
Amazing. Do you feel like you connect better with students who are also autistic?
Yes and no, because autism is such a broad spectrum. For some students, I immediately get them because I see a lot of myself in them and I know what kind of works in the broadest sense for autistic people. So I can like try that on them and see if it sticks. But I also learn a lot from them because sometimes their experience as a neurodivergent person is very different from mine. But I do think that also being divergent helps to make space for it because I need to make space for myself in a lot of ways.
Right.
I am not, the usual, to say it like that. So I am used to having to find different ways than the norm for things that work for me.
Mhm.
So I think it does help that I'm used to doing that for myself. That makes it a bit easier for me to do it for other people as well. And I know I like it. To be really honest, I don't know if I would want to teach solely neurotypical people because that is so far away from me.
Right.
And I feel like there are a lot of resources for them already. So I don't want to exclude them, but there are more places they can go to. I'd rather be in community with my people, to say it like that.
Yeah.
So I'd prefer people that don't have a lot of places to go.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. There was a time in my life too where I like started focusing my teaching on trans and disabled people because, as you said, like they have fewer resources and I was a resource for them.
Exactly.
Totally makes sense.
I feel the same way.
So you already mentioned that learning more about the voice makes you feel like empowered in your performing and in your teaching.
Definitely.
But what drew you to learn about trans voice specifically, like in the course that you took with me?
That's a funny story, actually. I did the vocal coaching for the Voice Holland for a while, and for all the subgroups, like the Voice as the adults, but also the Voice Kids. And it was when I was teaching the Voice Kids that I ran into a lot of cis boys going through puberty and noticing changes in their voice.
Wait, are you talking about the show, The Voice?
Yeah.
You were working as a vocal coach for the television show,
Yeah.
The Voice Holland?
I was.
That is so cool.
I was. Yeah, it was very behind the scenes because on the show, the coaches are like the vocal coaches. But in Holland, at least, the contestants are also coached very, very intensively with professional vocal coaches next to the coaching they get from their assigned coach.
Hey, that is so cool.
That was very nice to do. It was big. It was a big thing to do. But yeah, I ran into a lot of people who noticed changes in their voice. And I don't know how it is in the rest of the world, but here, the moment that you have like the pre-audition until the moment where you sing in front of the cameras, there's months in between that. So for people that go through puberty, a lot can change. And for people that are, how do you call that? People that are approaching menopause,
Sure.
that's a long wait.
Yeah.
So I noticed, I came in contact with a lot of singers who noticed changes in their voice because of hormones. And that kind of got me thinking, like, who has to do with this, firstly, and how do I deal with that as a vocal coach? And that's when I kind of went into trans voice coaching, because I noticed that there is not much information about that, at least not in Holland, where I live. So that kind of ignited my passion for that.
Amazing. So you like saw this gap in the services that you offer, and you like made the connection to trans voice yourself.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And firstly, because I'm very interested in how the voice works. So if the voice is changing, that sparks my curiosity even more.
I really enjoyed having you in last year's cohort because I thought you brought some really valuable insights to the course about being autistic and being neurodivergent, and also being from Holland and having like another perspective. That's kind of what's nice about this cohort, or every cohort, is that there's like people from all over the world. They all have different languages.
I like that.
So cool. But I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how neurodivergence shapes the way that you learn, and how the course did or did not accommodate like your learning style.
It accommodated me greatly. Thank you for
good.
that.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yes, I as I said, I like knowing how something works exactly. Like, I want all the details. I want to know what muscle moves what way to create what sound. Like, I go deep. When I want to learn something, I go deep. So I really loved how you explained stuff, and you kept it really physiological, because a lot of times with voice, people talk about how it's supposed to feel as opposed to what is actually happening in your throat. So I love that approach of yours, and the resources you gave us. When you spoke on something, you usually always usually gave us a book that we could read to know more about it. So I have a long reading list now. I think I'm on a third or something now, but I can keep learning. For me, the course felt like an introduction, because there is so much to learn still, but now I also know where to find the knowledge. So I'm really grateful for that. I felt accommodated.
Thank you. It's so interesting you say that, because like I think people who are familiar with my teaching would be surprised to find out how physiological the teacher training was, because when I do like student facing learning, I do focus more on how it feels. But now that you mention it, like I'm sure there are some autistic students who may be watching who would actually prefer more like physiology, and maybe I should do that.
Yeah, but I think you combine it nicely, because
Thank you.
I don't think that people who do want to know how it feels, I don't think they would feel excluded, because I feel you do both.
Thanks.
And you also have your slides, you make it visual. So yeah, I think you do a lot. And I think that you can speak to a group of people that learn in different ways. I think that might be one of your strengths right there.
Well, thank you so much. I didn't mean to just fish for compliments here. But you saw in the cohort, like people learn in all different ways. People need text on the screen. People need to be off camera. People, so it's and I come from a disability justice background. So it really makes me happy to hear that you felt accommodated.
Oh, that makes sense.
So I wanted to talk about Rotterdam and the Dutch music scene, because I think you were the only person in the cohort from Holland this year. Is that right?
I was.
Yeah. So what differences have you noticed in how people talk about voice and gender in Dutch versus English?
Grammatically, people tend to have more trouble speaking on gender in Dutch.
Interesting.
I myself also find it easier to speak on gender in English. Maybe that's what I'm most comfortable with. And I also write in English, so I think my language for emotions is more English than it is Dutch. But I also come from a very multicultural family, so we speak 5 languages, so it doesn't really surprise me.
Okay. What languages do you speak?
I was born in Curacao, so I speak Papiamentu. My mom's from Sranan, so I speak Sranan as well. I speak Dutch because of colonialism. And I speak English, Spanish. That's 5. Yeah,
that's 5. Okay, I
Yeah.
said I was going to ask you about the Dutch music scene, but actually I want to
Yeah.
talk a little bit more about gender and language for a second.
That's cool.
Because that came up a lot in the chorus. Like I always invite people from all over the world to like talk about gender differences, how gender is expressed vocally in their like subculture or community, because it's so different everywhere.
Yeah.
And maybe you could speak on that a little bit from your perspective.
Dutch is a very difficult language. It is quite gendered. For example, cousin, there is no gender neutral word for cousin in Dutch. It's either female or male, or you would have to say child of my aunt, which is a mouthful.
We have that problem in English with aunt and uncle as well.
Yeah, but then aunt and uncle, same thing in Dutch.
What about some of your other languages?
Same, Spanish is very gendered as well. People are playing around with E instead of O or an A on the end. So that is kind of changing, but that's more my generation. Like my siblings and I can do that, but my parents, they would frown upon it a bit. Papiamentu is not very gendered. Funny, I've never actually really thought about this, but in Papiamentu, we usually assign the female words to stuff, but it is meant neutral.
That's like the opposite of French or Spanish. That's so interesting.
Yeah. So the word for brother is rumang, and that's just gender neutral sibling. And then you could add if you want to say female or male sibling, or you just leave it at sibling. But a lot of words end in an a, which would be considered female, while they're not. So when somebody who's from Curacao or speaks Papiamentu, when they translate to Dutch, they usually call everything female.
That is funny.
Because if you translate it literally, that's what it becomes.
Right.
Which is funny because Dutch, everything is male.
Okay.
So
okay. That's so fascinating.
Yeah.
But what about the sound of the voice, or the gendered expectations of how people actually speak? Because I know, like, I'm in Sweden right now, and there was somebody in your cohort from who was living in Sweden, and she was saying that women were speaking really high and men were speaking really low. And that has been my experience since I've been here. I've been like, oh wow, there's a big gender difference. And when I talk to Swedish people about it, they're like, isn't that how all cultures do it? And I was like, no, girl, it's not actually. So I don't know, what's it like in Rotterdam, or even just in your family, you know?
Well, in Dutch in general, I think that's a good rule of thumb, that people who identify more female speak with a bigger inflection and a bit higher. And people who are more male, they do the opposite. So it's a bit more monotonous and a bit lower.
Okay.
Also resonance-wise. But then in Papiamentu, completely different. People kind of sing when they speak.
Nice.
They go all the way up there, all the way down there, and in between.
I love that.
And I haven't noticed a big difference between feminine and masculine people, aside from resonance. Masculine people tend to have a darker resonance than feminine people. But yeah, it's not something I've really paid attention to.
You're going to start opening your ears up now, I bet you.
Yup.
It's a curse that follows me around everywhere.
Yeah, but in Spanish, in Papiamentu, people are very expressive in their language. So they're very passionate, very emotional.
Right.
And that goes for men, women, people in between and outside.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Right. Amazing. Okay, so now I do want to ask about the music scene. So you work across many musical contexts. You were saying R&B, theater, jazz. How do you think about the relationship between singing technique and speaking voice? And did anything from the trans voice training that you took with me shift how you think about your work with singers in these different genres?
Yes, I am now way more aware of sound, specifically resonance, and how I can use that in singing with certain emotions. So I don't really connect it to gender that much in my own music, but I do play around with it more now just to see how I can feel a certain emotion better with a certain sound. So yeah, it feels like I've entered a new playground. That's quite nice.
Awesome.
But I do think like in jazz, it is more, at least when I studied jazz here in Rotterdam, it was more usual to sing with a darker resonance and not too bright and sound warm and round and full and stuff like that.
Fascinating.
And Yeah, and then musical theater and pop music is usually brighter here.
It's because I studied jazz like 10 years ago now, and there were so many like bright bird-like jazz singers in my cohort.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's a regional thing or a generational thing.
Might also have to do with the fact that I'm Black.
Could be.
And people expect me to sound like that.
Well, I was going to ask, that's actually my next question, so I'm glad you brought it up. But as a Black person navigating spaces like music education, trans voice work, what do you notice is missing? I can think of a lot of things that are missing from jazz education, or what could be different in how we talk about voice and identity.
Where do we start?
It's a big one.
What is missing? In education or in just when I make my music and perform, or both?
Let's talk about education first, since we're both educators.
More Black people. I studied jazz in 2014. I started in 2014 in Rotterdam. Rotterdam is a very multicultural city, very big city. There's people from all over the world. There's people who are from the diaspora. There's people who moved there to study or to work. So you have a lot of expats as well. So big mix of people in general, big mix of cultures. You see it in the food, you see it in the clothing, you see it just as you look around you when you're in the streets. But then if you go to the institution where they're going to teach you about music, very white, very, very white. And especially studying jazz, which I think is inherently a Black music style, I was a bit disappointed that a white, cisgendered, heterosexual, middle-aged man was teaching me about my history through the blues, through jazz, but never acknowledged the color of their skin and the things they faced because of that color of their skin. Because I think, especially if you go to the root of jazz, the blues and those kind of things, if you go back in the 1920s, 1930s, their surroundings and the oppression they faced because of their skin color really heavily colored how they made music. And for me, it's really weird to learn about the one and not the other.
Yeah.
So that was something I was missing when I was studying. And I was the only Black student.
That's tough.
In the whole jazz department. Like year 1 to 4 and the 2 years of masters.
Whoa.
I was the only Black student.
That's really...
The only one.
Tough. I mean, that was my exact experience at jazz school as well. There was like, nobody talks about how it's a Black art form.
Yep. Yeah, that kind of saddened me because also when I make my music to process my own emotions. And a lot of them have to do with being Black in this world and not being able to learn how people before me dealt with that through their music. I think I was, robbed is a big word, but I think I did feel robbed a little bit.
I feel you.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Did you leave jazz after your experience in music school, or is it still like a big part of your practice? Well, I mean, your music to me sounds like it's still very heavily influenced by your jazz education.
Yeah, definitely. If you look at the harmonies I use, if you look at the chords I use, heavily influenced by jazz. I think now I would more place it underneath the neo soul, future soul umbrella, because I also like using synthesizers and drum machines and stuff like that. But heavily influenced by jazz, heavily influenced by my upbringing, having Caribbean parents. So
nice. Well, I'm glad that your education experience didn't completely sour you on music making, like I know it does for many people. When
I go out in the world and make my music, that is diverse. At least diverser. It's more diverse than the educational system is.
Definitely.
Because if I go and perform at a festival, there are more Black people there. There are definitely more queer people there. Definitely neurodivergent people there. People from all kinds of walks of life. But it's just the educational system that is still very white here.
Yeah.
Even when they're talking about Black subjects.
Yeah, I'm really happy that there are like more Black, autistic, trans voice teachers in the world like yourself.
Me too.
But yeah, I just want to see more of it, because I'm sure there's like a Black trans neurodivergent person out there who is like looking for a teacher who shares their experience and is going to be happy that you exist, you know?
Yeah, and I also hope that I see the educational system as very white, and that could withhold me from entering it and becoming a teacher myself. But I hope that more people just take the leap and go for the information and then add all the other stuff. And I think there will be more of us if that just happens. But also, I don't know how that is in the rest of the world, but here in Holland, if I just look at the queer community, there is a white queer community, there is a black queer community, and they don't really mix. And I also think there's something to say for that, because that's how I see the institutions now. You have the musicians who all happen to be of color, and then you have the educators who all happen to be white. If that would mix more, I think the world would be a better place.
I agree.
And of course, the experiences are very specific, and I get that you sometimes want to feel community with people who are exactly like you, but just hop out of it for a second to get the information you need over there. Then you can go back in there and maybe take that information with you. That's at least something I'm trying to do.
Me too.
And I hope more people will do that.
I love that. I mean, that's one of my favorite things about running the teacher training course every year is that it's like 25 of the most diverse, it's the most diverse group you've ever seen.
Yeah.
All over the world, different time zones, different gender experiences.
And I like that.
I learned so much every year from doing that training.
Nice. Good to hear.
What is something that you learned from the course that surprised you or challenged you?
I finally learned the difference between nasality and twang.
Yay!
Because I knew there was a difference, but nobody was able to clearly explain to me what the difference is and where it comes from and how I can do it. So that is something I take away from this course.
I'm very happy to hear that. That's wonderful.
My mind was blown. It was like, it all makes sense now.
Yay!
It's
That's
such
so
a
good.
tiny thing, but it's something that went on in my mind for a long time.
It's the little things.
And what more? I am now reading Before We Were Trans by Heyam, I think.
Yes, great book.
And I usually bookmark stuff that I want to remember from books. And I'm only like I think I'm still in chapter 1. I read the prologue and chapter 1, and I already have so many bookmarks out. Like, finally!
I feel you.
Yes, this is what I mean. So that didn't have a lot to do with the course itself, but
no, but I love that book.
Yeah.
I'll put a bookshop.org link below because that book I inhaled. It was so readable as far as like a trans history book goes.
Yes, that part. Because I'm very specific about reading and listening to books. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, but when I don't like the person's voice, I stop listening.
That's fair.
I can't listen through it. Same thing with reading. If I don't like their writing style, I don't read it. And up to now, one weird trick, read it in one breath.
Nice. Yes, another great book that I will link below as well.
So yeah, your bookshelf, I really, really appreciated that as well. So I think, like I said, this course was just an introduction for me. Mm-hmm. It showed me what there is to be known, and it shows me where I can get the information if I want to get more information. And I'm so happy about that because 6 weeks, that was not enough.
It's not enough.
That was
I know.
not going to be enough.
Well, thank you so much. So I'm going to leave all the links to your website and your music and your socials below because I really want people to go check you out and get into it because you're going to, continue to rise and people need to know you. But is there anything, like where can people find you if they want to know more? Just say it here in case people don't check out the description.
I have a website, justshaynah.com, where you can subscribe to my newsletter. And I will send you updates, not more than monthly, probably less than monthly. Yeah. But that's one. And if you want to follow me more closely, you can find me on TikTok, on Instagram, all the social medias. But I would personally appreciate the newsletter more.
Yes.
Because that's where the real stuff lives. And then I can actually be in community with you.
Feel you. Okay. I'll make sure that is linked as well.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Shaynah. It was such a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm sure we'll have another conversation really soon.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much to Shaynah for sharing their experience and insights with us. You can find links to their music, social media, and projects in the description below. Seriously, go listen to the Naked EP because it's incredible.
Do it! Just do it!
As we talked about in the interview, Shaynah was a student in my teacher training course, Learn to Teach Trans Voice Alteration in 5 weeks. Applications for the 2026 cohort open in 1 month, and if this conversation resonated with you, if you're a voice teacher, singing teacher, speech pathologist, choir director, drama teacher, or anyone who works with voices and wants to support trans people, I would love to have you join us.
Get in here!
You can find more information about the course and sign up for the waitlist at the link below or by scanning the QR code on your screen. Being on the waitlist means you'll be the first to know when applications open in January. That's all for today. I've been Renee, and I hope this helps. Should I point in a particular way? Should I put QR code here?
You can do the, here, look at my wonderful way.
Okay, good. I will do that. Code on your screen.
Did you just have like a stomach hungry sound? Is that what I heard?
It's possible, yes.
Okay, all right. One redo.
This is why we don't drink coffee before we shoot.
True. Okay.